to YouTube videos!
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Damned Are the Guilty by Onomatopoeia. Story recap. Full story in the link below. Chapter 1. The clouds above the mountaintop twisted into a violent vortex. Ratet the Sphinx tore a chunk of stone from the temple floor and hurled it at the purple alicorns circling above him. Twilight Sparkle blasted the rock from the sky with a beam of magic and narrowed her eyes. "This foolish mission of yours has gone on for too long," she called. "Ratet, when will you finally see that power and destruction is not what gives you true power? When I bring down you and your infernal rainbow powers," Ratet roared. He launched himself upward on lion legs, claws aimed at her throat. Twilight weaved aside, spun, and lassoed him with telekinetic magic. She swung him hard into the mountaintop. He groaned, then channeled the power of the sun into his claws. 5 more beams of magic struck him in the chest: Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie. Ratet slammed into a pillar. He rose again, muttering the most forbidden incantations, drawing on both the sun and the power of the dead. Twilight shook her head with sorrow and nodded to her friends. Rainbow power erupted around all 6 of them. Ratet unleashed 6 slashes of ancient magic that tore the sky. The ambassadors answered with a single beam supercharged by friendship, harmony, and teamwork. For a moment, the 2 forces locked. Then the rainbow power shattered the power of the gods. A tornado of rainbow magic blasted the clouds away. Sunlight returned to the land. Rainbow Dash smirked as the power left their bodies. "And that's a wrap." Applejack glanced at the sun. "Just in time for me to get back to work on the farm." "We're not done yet," Twilight said. The smoke cleared. Ratet knelt in the crater, head bowed. Rainbow and Rarity started forward. Twilight held out a wing and approached alone. "It was going to be beautiful," Ratet whispered. "In this age of pony magic and superiority, I was going to show the world that there was another magic. Another source of power that those without your alicorn power would be able to use. But once again, only pony magic can be the best, and the rest of us have to scramble over what is left." Twilight placed a wing on his shoulder. "Ratet, it's not the strength of my magic that makes me strong. In fact, in terms of actual strength, your power might be stronger than even my alicorn might. They are the source of my strength. Alone, I could not hope to be as powerful as I am now, but with them, our power is unbeatable. And I can't help but wonder, if you are this strong with your magic by yourself, how strong could you be if you shared it with your friends?" Ratet looked at the 5 other ambassadors. They nodded. He sighed. "I do not know what it takes to make friends. All of my life I have been alone, forced to rely on my own power to survive. But if you are willing to aid me, maybe I can learn." "Sure," Twilight said with a large smile. "I'll help you in any way I can." A brilliant flash of white light erupted in a quiet forest at the edge of Equestria. A blonde teenager crashed face first into the dirt, spitting blood and soil. She pushed herself up, gunshot wound bleeding down her side, and spun in panic. She had teleported dimensions to escape the man hunting her. "I'm fine, I escaped," she told herself, suppressing the pain with her mental powers. "He couldn't have followed me here, he doesn't have powers." Movement in the trees, the white skull. She screamed and uprooted every tree within 20 feet, hurling them in a frenzy. When the forest was clear, she took a step forward. Bang! A bullet shattered her right knee. Bang! The left knee exploded. She collapsed, sobbing. Through tears, she saw the butt of a gun. It smashed into her face. A black boot pinned her chest. Ribs cracked. The Punisher stared down the barrel of his pistol at her. Black armor, white skull, eyes like voids. "Why you can't be here," she choked. "Don't bother, I know that your powers are based on concentration, so as long as you are in constant pain." He drove his other boot into her ruined knee. She screamed. Why are you after me? I haven't done anything to anyone." "Tell that to those other teens that you helped to kill. Tell that to the parents that tried to protect the mutant kids that you stole for your boss. For Magneto, you brought down a house upon them. I watched the parents get put in bags. He yanked her up by the collar, punched her gut until she coughed blood, slammed her into a tree, cracked her ribs with his gun, and shattered her nose with an elbow. She slumped at the base of the trunk. 17 years old, and already you have torn apart so many. He raised the assault rifle, then scowled and drove his knee into her face instead. He turned to walk away. I turned 18 2 days ago, you dumb fuck, she seethed, lifting a splintered tree with the last of her strength. And don't you dare turn your back on the brother. He spun and fired. The bullet blew her brains out the back of her skull. The tree limb fell with a thud. Happy birthday, the Punisher muttered. He walked out of the forest into a land he did not recognize. Three-headed beasts passed without interest. Rabbits fled. A bear sniffed the death on him and lumbered away. Smart move, he said. At the edge of a small city, he saw 3 ponies kicking an older mare and snatching her purse. The old pony tried to rise and failed. The man in the white skull walked past her without a word, heading in the same direction the muggers had gone. Chapter 2. Twilight pushed open the doors of her castle, more tired than she had admitted to anyone in Canterlot. Spike and Starlight were still away. She ran a hot bath, poured in bubble bath, and sank into the water with a book. Another crisis ended, she thought, but Ratet was another being who believed force was the only answer. Tayek, Sombra, Discord, how many more? How long will we have to fight? When the water cooled, she dried off, looked at the tired pony in the mirror, and reminded herself she could not give up. In her bedroom, a note from Starlight waited, rumors of a southern village losing all its magic, friendship problems already handled, paperwork left for her. Twilight smiled at how quickly Starlight was learning, then frowned. Another crisis already. She fell asleep practicing speeches she might need against the next Tayek or Sombra. In a warehouse on the edge of Delemia, 6 pony gangsters played cards and smoked cigars. Their boss, fedora low over his eyes, laid down a straight and raked in the chips. Profits were up. The princesses were too busy with world enders to notice ordinary crime. They cheered the princesses' blindness. The lights shorted out. When they flickered back on, one of their own, Racer, lay on the table with a knife in his back, blood pouring across the cards. Holy hell, someone whispered. Do you think it's the princesses? The princesses would never do something this brutal. The boss snarled, pulling a dart gun. Keep an eye on those shadows. A gunshot exploded a pony's skull. A man in black armor with a white skull slammed onto the table and opened fire with an assault rifle. 2 more dropped in sprays of blood. A unicorn threw up a barrier around himself and the boss. The Punisher switched to a shotgun and shattered it. He executed the 3 reinforcements who came through the door with 3 precise pistol shots, then kicked the boss onto his back. I'm only going to ask once, where am I? Delemia, southeast corner of Equestria. Bang, the boss's head snapped back. The last goon wet himself. Equestria, land of magic and ponies, ruled by alicorns. We're the only crime ring here, I swear. No, you were the only ones. Bang! The Punisher took a map from the desk and walked into the night. He dropped the old mare's purse at the feet of a stunned police pony and vanished into the shadows. Chapter 3. Morning light filled Twilight's crystal castle. She ate salad and read the newspaper. Their victory over Ratet was on the front page. Then she saw the headline, Pony Gangsters Slaughtered in Delemia, Wounds that Punched Clean Through Skulls. She crumpled Celestia's letter about vanishing magic and tried to plan, visit Ratet, investigate the thefts, write to Delemia. She flew to Sweet Apple Acres to talk to Applejack. Howdy Twee, what's the matter? What makes you think something's the matter? Because something's almost always the matter when it comes to you. Meanwhile, the Punisher sat on a fallen log studying the map. Ponies, magic, Boston accents. His little girl would have loved this place. He forced the thought away. This world still had criminals. That was enough. He needed a train. He watched the police ponies in Delemia circulating sketches of a white skull, learned their patterns, and slipped onto the caboose of the outbound train. The car was empty. He sat by a window, marked the next city on the map, and waited. Chapter 4. Twilight sat across from Ratet in his cell and tried again. Say a pony comes up to you asking for directions, how do you respond? I would flail them with a whip for being so weak. She slammed him back into his seat with magic. You cannot flail, burn, or cast foes into eternal damnation whenever they ask for help. Eventually, you have to be nice. So I can't unleash flames, decimate homes, never. He kicked the table and flew around the cell spewing fire. Twilight ended the lesson and left. Celestia's advisor met her in the hallway. Creatures were attacking Winneapolis, shouting about the return of a Dark Lord. Twilight teleported away without another word. On the train, the Punisher almost drifted into nightmares when an elderly stallion with a pipe cutie mark sat across from him. No wonder Everpenny was afraid of you. You definitely aren't from around here. Name's Pipe Smoke. Pleasure. What do you want? Pipe shivered at the cold in the voice. Just friendly advice. You don't need a frown like that in this land. Equestria can heal, can be a place of second chances. You're back here because they're afraid of me. Pipe admitted it. You wear a skull. I can feel death radiating from you. What if I am dangerous? I've lived a long time. If I had to be the one that died, I wouldn't be opposed. But that's not the kind of land this is. The conductor announced they were approaching Winneapolis. Magical beings were tearing up the city. Passengers were to stay on the train. Frank stood, took his shotgun, and kicked the door off its hinges. The car was suddenly empty. He walked toward the destruction alone. It felt like home. Chapter 5. Twilight hovered over Winneapolis. Centaur extremists blasted buildings apart in Tyek's name. She landed and tried to talk. They mocked her. She answered with rubble to the backs of their heads, then full alicorn magic. Two broke away to cause more chaos. Gunshots cracked. A black-armored human with a white skull walked through the dust. One centaur approached with a smile. The human looked up. The centaur saw the eyes of a killer and knew he was next. The centaur swung. The Punisher rolled, aimed, and Twilight yanked him backward by the vest, throwing a protective sphere around them both. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave now. You think I need protecting? You're out of your league. I'll keep you safe. Heh, so you're a hero. Guess so. That gives me one less target. He struck her in the back of the head. The barrier fell. He scooped her up, ran for cover, and opened fire. One centaur dropped with a hole through the skull and an arrogant smile still on his face. A second died the same way. The last raised a shield. Frank shot out his legs, then put the pistol to his head. Twilight's voice shook the street. Both of you stand down, or there will be hell to pay. The centaur raised his hands. Frank fired anyway. Chapter 6. Twilight stared at the headless body, blood on her coat, and vomited in her soul. You monster! She blasted him across the street. He rolled up and switched to the shotgun. She hurled a carriage. He dove. They fought through a skyscraper, lights out, stairwells, cubicles. He was a shadow. She was rage and teleportation. He finally kicked her in the head when she lowered her guard at the mention of a daughter, suplexed her, and beat her unconscious with the rifle butt. He left her alive and slipped into the alleys, already hunting the next base. He found it. He tortured two centaurs for everything they knew about Tyek, sword hands, precise knife work, then executed the rest. Twilight and Celestia arrived to the aftermath. The Elder Guard pointed out the one thing that mattered. The human had left Twilight alive. Celestia smiled. She knew how to bait him. Discord turned an entire street of willing ponies into gold statues. When the Punisher arrived and opened fire, Discord played the fool until the moment Frank realized the victims were friends. Twilight's magic slammed him into buildings until the world went black. They locked him in the strongest crystal prison in the Everfree. Chapter 7. Frank woke in a cell of pure crystal that burned with alicorn magic when touched. Twilight sat on the other side, smirking. The fearsome human finally awakens. You're trapped in the best prison this world has to offer. You're going to be in here a long time. He told her Tyek was rising in days. She already knew. She was keeping the most dangerous criminal locked away first. He tried the bars and was thrown across the cell. She tossed him an apple and left. Celestia asked how it went. Twilight said he was crazy, they would keep him here. Chapter 8. Twilight brought him to Ponyville under a magic collar that would shock him for any hostile thought. The main six met them at the station. Frank introduced himself with the truth. By the time law enforcement found the corpses he left, the torture made being ripped apart by horses looked like mercy. Rainbow Dash tried bravado. He told her he would slit her throat in her sleep and forget she existed by morning. The collar burned him. He did not flinch. Twilight locked him in her castle dungeon. One by one, the friends tried to reach him. Rarity came in a dress and full makeup. He called her a hooker, then a slut. She left screaming into a wall. Applejack talked about losing her parents and living for their memory. He asked what she would do if someone murdered Apple Bloom, Big Mac, and Granny in front of her. She did not come back. Rainbow Dash listed ways she would beat him. He described watching his platoon die under enemy fire. She stared at a wall. Pinkie Pie talked about smiling and friends. He told her about the last friends he made, what was left of them fit in a plastic bag. Fluttershy never showed. Spike came alone, 12 years old. He told the Punisher he was a monster, that tragedy did not excuse murder, and that Spike himself had been abandoned as an egg, yet chose to be better. Frank almost smiled. The kid was the only one who saw him clearly. Chapter 9. That night heavy hoofsteps moved through the castle above. Centaur. Frank kicked out a loosened bar, picked the lock with a tool Twilight never found, and ran. He found Twilight in her bedroom, Spike held hostage by a 15-year-old centaur holding a magic-draining medal. Spike blasted fire into the centaur's eye. Frank dropped onto its back and drove a lockpick into the other. He beat the creature half to death, then stopped with the pick poised to kill. Twilight begged. Spike watched. Frank asked the centaur's age, then slammed his forehead into the boy's nose instead. "We need him alive to tell us where Tyack is," he said, and quietly to Spike, "maybe to show you I'm not as weak as you believe." Chapter 10. The centaur talked. Tyack would attack Canterlot in 3 days with an anti-magic amulet. The main six argued. Applejack said they needed someone without magic. Spike pointed out Frank had spared the boy when he could have killed him in front of them. Twilight hated it, but she agreed. She took him to the armory, gave him an anti-magic crystal staff shaped like a rifle, and returned his skull vest. She made him pinky promise not to kill any of Tyack's remaining followers. He agreed. Tyack himself was never part of the deal. Celestia and Luna confirmed Tyack's base, the old castle at the edge of the Everfree. Chapter 11. They moved through the Everfree under the forest's own magic. Frank led, spotting traps. They climbed the castle from the outside. Inside, they found dozens of drained, near-dead centaurs. Tyack had already consumed his own army. The trap closed. Magical spheres yanked the main six and Spike into the throne room. Tyack waited, stronger than ever, amulet in hand, smiling at the stained glass image of Celestia and Luna. "Ah, Princess Twilight, so nice of you to join me." He explained the plan. The lone madman had been the perfect distraction while his minions gathered magic, and he drained them dry. Victory was certain. Spike smiled. "You know, it's funny that you should mention the human." A crystal bolt from the rafters shattered the amulet. 6 more shots freed the ponies. Rainbow power flared. The battle tore the tower apart. Chapter 12. Tyack was stronger than last time. He hurled magic and stone. The ambassadors answered with friendship beams. Frank kept Spike alive until the crystal staff was crushed under a chunk of wall. Tyack grabbed Frank and began to crush him. "You do not belong here, mortal. Why would you dare face me again?" "Because someone needs to put down sick bastards like you. Even with all your power, you're nothing more than dead men." The main six yanked Tyack away. Their combined power stripped the stolen magic until he knelt, old and weak. He spoke of the brother who had betrayed him for Equestria's sake and who had begged the princesses to spare Tyack's life instead of destroying him. Twilight told him it was time to let go to make amends. Tyek's rage faded into weary regret. He lowered his magic and smiled. Perhaps it is time to let go and to start making amends for all my actions. Tyek, I'm proud of you. You've finally... Bang! Blood sprayed from the front of Tyek's skull. Brains painted the floor. The rainbow power kept the blood off the ambassadors. Nothing could stop the horror. Frank calmly holstered the hidden pistol from his boot. Finally, I thought he'd never lower his guard. Chapter 13. Why? Twilight whispered, tears welling. I'm the Punisher, it's what I do. He explained there had never been a breakthrough. He had used their hope, their need, and Twilight's desire to save one last broken soul to reach Tyek. The first person the Punisher ever killed was Frank Castle. Twilight's scream shook the tower. She hurled him through stained glass, incinerated his left arm with pure magic, and rained falling stars across the rooftops until he lay broken in the mud. She floated above him, eyes pure violet, ready to execute the sentence. Spike landed between them, crying, "You're going to kill him because you couldn't stop him from killing Tyek. That's what he did. He kills criminals because he couldn't stop them from killing his family. That was the first step that made him the Punisher. Don't take that same step. Don't be Punisher, be Twilight, be my mom." Twilight's rage cracked. She lowered her horn. Frank tried one last desperate shot to escape. The gun went off in the scuffle. The bullet grazed Spike's arm. Twilight's new rage was the rage of a mother. The sky itself tore open. Then she saw Frank's face. The fire was gone. Only guilt remained, raw human guilt over harming a child. "He'll live," Frank whispered. When she nodded, "I was so determined to get away that I shot a child. I shot your son, all over bullshit reason. I'm so sorry, Twilight. He's a good kid. I actually respect him. You probably want to burn me alive, and I would let you, but you won't have to. I'll burn soon enough. Because after what I just did means that someone needs to punish me. Bye, kid." He put the pistol under his chin. Bang! Twilight stopped the bullet. Chapter 14. Frank woke suspended 20 feet in the air, pinned to a metal frame. One arm gone, legs and remaining arm locked in unbreakable metal, thick glass in front of him. Twilight sat on the other side. "So you've finally woken up." "Purgatory it is. Why am I alive?" She told him the truth. A monster would not have tried to kill himself over an accidental wound to a child. The guilt meant Frank Castle was still somewhere inside the Punisher. She had been ready to quit being an ambassador. Ready to leave the hard work of broken souls to Starlight. Meeting him had shown her what giving up looked like. She would not give up on him. The cell was the strongest metal in the land. The prison floated in Discord's dimension, staffed only by emotionless stone golems that reformed when broken. No other prisoners, no weapons, one arm gone forever. Discord himself was the warden. Only way out was to fly, and he could not. "Even if what you said is true, it doesn't change anything," Frank said. "I'm still the Punisher. Once I get out of here, I'll resume punishing those who kill the innocent before I finally punish myself." Twilight smiled, a genuine smile. "Not happening. You're in here until the end of time, and I'm immortal. So don't worry, Frank. We've got all the time in the world, all eternity if need be." She stood to leave for anger management classes. "Seems that I've unintentionally learned a few things from you, but I'm trying to get better. And somewhere deep down, maybe you are too. Classes start at 10 tomorrow morning. Look sharp." She walked through the cloud wall, pausing once to smile back. Frank tested the restraints. Nothing. He looked down through the clouds at whatever lay below. Then he thought of the conviction in her eyes, the same look the heroes of his Earth used to have when they truly believed they could reach someone. She had locked him away completely and still refused to give up on the man inside the monster. For the first time since he arrived in this world, Frank Castle chuckled. "Not bad, Twilight," he said. "Not bad."
That's all, Zipsters! Like and subscribe.